Ah!
Hello and welcome to The Sleeve. I'm your host Sophie Eggleton, introducing this new online show looking at when and where music collides with fashion and art. I'll be covering all sorts, from band merch to album artwork, tattooing and music video styling, clothing brands and beauty trends. So stop your online shopping for half an hour, rest those gig-weary feet and enjoy episode 1 of The Sleeve. On this episode I chat to Pat Salter, design director of Pretty Green, and Paris, the Brit behind Coldplay's Milo Xyloto artwork. First up though, The Sleeve headed to the heart of Notting Hill for the launch event of the Love Hate London Social Club, which is a joint venture between longtime friends, renowned recording artist and broadcaster Huey Morgan, and Army James, the world-famous tattoo artist and creative force and face of Love Hate Tattoo Studios. News has spread about the studio launch, meaning hordes of people travelled far and wide in the hope to meet the owners and to get inked. Unfortunately, as the shop was so rammed, our interview had to be postponed. So here's when I caught up with the charming chaps a week later.
Yeah, I'm getting my dog's name, Sugar, and I've written songs about her when I was in the Criminals, and I wrote a song about her on my new record, a Not So Happy song, because she passed away. But back in the day when Ami came up to New York to tattoo, he'd stay at my house when I was on tour. And he offered to look after my dog as well, which was really cool of him.
Army, do you feel like you get better every year, or do you hone your skills at all?
I do till I have a bad day.
Oh, that does happen, does it? But it just doesn't work.
Everybody has a bad day. But, the most important thing is that you always try. You always try to strive to be better every year. Every month, every tattoo, you try to outdo your last one. And that's very important because at the end of the day, you never wake up in the morning and say, I figured it all out. That just doesn't exist.
It's like music in that respect, and that's kind of like how I see it. It's like an art that's always progressing. He was saying something in another interview that was funny. He was like, if you want a unicorn on your ass, I'll give you the best damn unicorn on your ass you want. But it's like a musician, like if you're like a rock musician and you want to play jazz, you have to learn about it, and you have to study it. And it's like one of those things where he actually can do that.
Yeah.
And he's always up for something new.
Is there ways you can be innovative though, like come up with new techniques? Is that something you can do, or is it kind of...
Well, it's like, like Eddie Van Halen played the guitar with two hands and did that kind of hammer-on thing. Everybody's got their own little thing that they do that's to their own, It's one of those things where everybody has a specialty in music, like I like country and blues and all that kind of stuff, so that would be my kind of thing. But I know Ami's into Japanese art and stuff like that, and he can do that stuff in his sleep, but he also likes to look at the stuff that the guys are doing and kind of seeing different styles and just seeing how things are progressing with the art itself, because it's so prevalent now. I mean, UK is the most tattooed nation in the country.
Yeah, I think it's 1 in 3 or something now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting body art, and it doesn't have that taboo or that stigma that it had before with like soldiers and sailors,
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I mean, musicians have always kind of had tattoos, so it's kind of has that thing going with it as well. I've had tattoos, but when we were in the band, I wore suits so you couldn't see them.
Yeah.
So. But it was one of those things that that's a part of my expression, and how I like to express myself. And as an artist, I can appreciate what he does as an artist,
Do you remember what rock icons or what musicians made you want to get tattoos, or who you thought, oh, they look amazing with them? Or...
Well, Ami's got a great story about Ozzy. Tell the Ozzy story, dude.
When I was a kid, I was a complete fanatic about Black Sabbath. I mean, I was really into Black Sabbath. My mom
thought something was wrong, yes.
And she was like, how does a 12 or 13-year-old get so obsessed with Black Sabbath? I just thought it was the best shit in the world.
Like most of the rest of us,
So when I was finally old enough to get a tattoo, I went and got a dragon on my chest. And it was so fucking bad because I was really young. I was only 15. And then I eventually had to cover it up because I remember growing up, Ozzy had this demon, this blue ugly ass Hanya mask on his chest. And I think it was done by Hanky Panky a really long time ago, which was a friend of mine. It was really, old school. I was so intrigued by it that I went and did the same thing over the tattoo. So I think, as you grow up and you have your heroes in punk or rock or heavy metal, they definitely dictate your outcome when it comes to your tattoos. Because I know so many guys that had the Black Flag bars, or the Misfit Skull, the Dead Kennedys, and it's just so much of that.
Yeah.
Especially back in the 80s when those people were your heroes,
When music wasn't full of shit.
Yeah.
Who are the people now though that are like tattoo icons?
Oh yeah, tattoo icons like Lady Gaga, Madonna. All the garbage that people listen to these days, unfortunately, dictates young 17-year-olds to do really shitty tattoos.
Yeah, so you get a lot of Lady Gaga portraits and stuff.
Do you think it's...
Well, Lady Gaga has a tattoo on her fucking back of something, God knows what, but... I mean, it's just... you got rappers with all this bullshit on their neck, and they all got tattooed in like 2 years, fully covered. They never really got into the game of tattooing for the right reason. They just did it because, it's gangster to have tattoos, but there's no soul to it. So, kind of sad, but it is what it is, It's the pop generation.
Yeah, I mean, to put it succinctly, in one of my songs, I say, we obtain too easy and we esteem too cheap, and it's true when it comes to stuff like what was it, one day Lil Wayne didn't have any tattoos and the next thing was just covered all over the place.
In terms of your style as a musician, like when 100% Colombian was out, you had the big collared shirts, you had the pinstripes, you had accessories like that. At the time, did it feel like you were creating a style movement, or were you
I just said I had a dope tailor. That's what it was. The guy Savoya, man, remember him?
Hell yeah,
yeah. Michele Savoya, he's one of the best tailors ever. Yeah. Now I got Savile Row. So,
It's not bad, is it?
No, it isn't. It's a little different. I mean, today you caught me on a kind of...
Cash day.
Well, I was doing all my radio stuff and interviews and things, so...
During that time, you had people like Brett Anderson, you had Brian Marco doing the whole androgynous thing, and then you had the Verve coming in, and then Prodigy being a bit punky.
Yeah.
Did it feel like an important time for style?
I mean, for us, we were just doing what we do in New York if we were going out and playing a gig, because we always respected the music. That's why we wore suits, and it was because the bluesmen wore suits. You didn't see bluesmen in t-shirts and jeans, and the style of music we were playing, we thought it was some kind of modern blues thing, so in our heads we were a blues band, but we were just playing really loud, and different kinds of styles were mixed into it, but it was basically blues.
Well, who do you think was the last musician to really do something big in terms of style? Because obviously you had the New Romantics, the Mods and stuff, but I can't think of anything that recent.
Well, I mean, as far as movements go, I think Ami was right when he said that now it's so, it's such like a disposable, commodity music where you can't really get a movement going. You could say maybe like some kind of dance music, like dubstep is a movement, but that's because a bunch of kids like the kind of music and that's their thing. But like old punk movement, like that was probably the last thing that really happened, that really mattered. I mean, people did the New Romantic movement and their goths and stuff like that around, and that's the thing. But I think now people are more open to other kinds of music, and I think, a lot of times people listen to different kinds of music and it doesn't really define your status, where a lot of times if you're a punk, you'd have to dress like a punk so people would know you were a punk, because that was what it was about.
Or like a badge of honour. See the finished tattoo and to hear more from Huey and Army at the Love Hate London Social Club, tune in later on in the series. The album artwork of Coldplay's Milo Xyloto was undoubtedly one of the most striking of 2011. So when I found out album artists were producing an exhibition at Proud Galleries featuring and auctioning the artwork to raise money for the charity Kids Company, I knew they were onto a winner. The wall sold to an anonymous bidder for £500,000, while other artworks by Paris and the band and the behind-the-scenes tour photographs raised another £110,000. I headed to Camden when they were hanging the exhibit the day before the star-studded private view to chat to Paris, the Brit artist who collaborated with Coldplay to create the now iconic wall, as well as many other pieces that were on display. So when you were younger, do you ever remember there being artwork that kind of made you go, wow, I need to buy that album, or did you not really pay attention to that?
No, I've always had friends with DJs and musicians, and I always loved, record shops in general. I just loved you don't get so many anymore, but that environment of a record shop and just thumbing through the sleeves. And obviously I'd have friends that'd be buying records, but I'd be checking out, and there's something that's so special about a gatefold cover, that size of artwork. I get, a lot of my favourite albums are seminal, mainly because the artwork's so good as well, and it ties in. I mean, I guess my favourites, just to name a few, are, the Stone Roses covers, because obviously there's a very intimate link with the band there, because they were done, it's all in-house, and it ties into the artwork. The work of Peter Saville, Joy Division and the New Order covers are still outstanding to this day. There's a couple of other things that kind of stand out. Yeah, the Beatles covers with Peter Blake, and that interaction between an artist and musicians to create something, groundbreaking. I've got some friends who used to work for Warp as well, and Warp have got a really good in-house with Designers Republic, a good in-house style.
If a band came to you and said they didn't want any sort of collaborative thing, they just wanted you to get on with it, or they're just going to direct you what they wanted, would that be quite unappealing to you?
And the appealing briefs are always the ones where people say, we love what you do, just go for it and do it, which is exactly what happened here with Coldplay. It was, and obviously there's a great collaboration with them getting involved in as well. But the briefs I love most, and I feel are the most beneficial to it for an artist, are when you're just told, go for it. When people put a lot of sort of hurdles in your way, that's the work of a designer to work around that. But as an artist, you just want to be free to do what you do. And the best work comes from that. Well, also, when I was first brought on board, when I was first told who I'd be working with, and I knew quite a lot of their back catalogue, the work of Tapping Eggleton as well, their designers since day one pretty much. But a lot of the Viva album was done with, with the band's paintings, but that wasn't graffiti. So when I was told, right, Coldplay and graffiti, initially I did not know how that was going to happen. I mean, I just went with it, and you see the results. But I was initially slightly daunted because it was such a fusion of two things, and until I heard the music, and when you hear the music and what, the band are saying in that, it completely ties in with this. So.
Now, talking about your time working with the band, who showed the most creative flair, who came out with the exciting ideas, who was fun to work with?
They all did. As you can see from the finished thing, there's an equal amount of everybody in there, and Phil as well. So it was it was all six of us that created that. And also Tapping Eggleton also had input. It was art directed, but in a way as it was documented from by Kate Peters, photographer. She documented it all in macro, so in fine detail, every step of the way, the whole evolution of it. And as the band, at first we were all sort of stood there scratching our heads, even I was, because it was just a big, massive, gigantic blank canvas, and we didn't really know where to start. And it wasn't until we really started making a mess, sort of, throwing paint around. There were paint bombs we threw at the wall there, and everyone sort of got into their flow, and all the band had, there's like secret messages in there. There are symbols that the band had sort of developed over the time, even when I was working with them. But when we did the first workshop together, the first drawing and painting workshop, they already had things that they'd been seeing, but I think all of them equally. I couldn't believe their flair. I can't play any musical instruments, but they were just, graffiti is a very accessible art form like that. If we'd have all been doing oil paintings, we'd have all been in a stick, I think. So.
Was there anyone that found it hard to be messy though and let themselves go? Because some people are very precise and almost OCD-like. Was there anyone that stuck out like that?
Not more me, really. Like, because obviously, you know, I come from as much a graffiti background as an art background. So initially, I'd tend to want to do things, you know, and have a certain finish on them. But from working with the band, I loosened up as much as anything, and then there are elements in there that you can see on like the far right and the far left, you know, the colourful sort of cosmic bits where I got to do my thing, and the band were really like, you know, you've got to, you know, put your mark on it. That's kind of my trademark thing, is that sort of cosmic thing. But you know, it opened me up to really what I realised has always been the essence of my work, is my love for city surfaces and the texture of the streets and that kind of language that builds up. You know, and from researching this wall, because the whole 2 weeks we were painting it, I was constantly looking at imagery of the Berlin Wall, of you know, documentation from New York in the 70s, and then we were sharing these images and then kind of reprocessing it all in what you see.
Now, have you discussed with the Coldplay guys of any future artistic collaborations, or is this the end of the journey, or?
I'm really not sure, because since we did, I mean, I thought we'd just be doing this together, and then literally a week after, I think as we were finishing this wall, I started getting Fender guitars to paint, and actually before we did the wall, I'd already painted Will Champion's drum kit. That was one of the first instruments to be painted, and then Johnny started giving me guitars, and Guy's guitars got done as well, some of them, and then Chris started giving us pianos to do, and it just, mainly with the tour, first the festival tour and then the world tour, my workload has just rolled on, and I haven't had much time to think about it, but you know, so the involvement already from what I thought was just a sort of one-off job, it's already rolled on more than I can believe, you know, and I think just through knowing and working with these guys, doors will open to new things, and there's still talk of tour dates appearing next year, and I keep thinking it's going to end after the last leg, and then it keeps rolling on. So
just go with the flow then.
Yeah, so that's all we've been doing for a year and a half now, nearly 2 years.
Finally, I head to shopping mecca Carnaby Street to chat to Pat Salter, design director for Pretty Green, the label founded by Oasis and BDI frontman Liam Gallagher. Not only did he introduce a smarter black label and expand the denim line, he is the man responsible for helping to turn Liam's design ideas into reality. I want to know more about their working relationship, the brand inspirations and what goes into making a successful collection, but I had to begin by asking about their first meeting.
I was kind of helping Pretty Green with their jeans, because my background was basically jeans, and I just had to drop some stuff down to the old designer Nick Holland in the showroom, and Liam was in there. So it was a kind of shake of the hands and a look up and down, and that was the sort of initial sort of meeting with Liam.
And then how did it develop to you becoming part of Pretty Green?
I got offered the job as the Green Label designer, and took that, and while I was working out my notice at my old company, I got offered the black label design as well, and sort of took it, and I met Liam at one of the showrooms we had just around the corner, actually, on King Street, and he basically sort of said, I hear you're working for us now, I hope you're fucking good. And that was kind of, that was kind of how it started. But
and he's quite renowned for saying that he's not really into fashion and the fashion industry, so do you think it was really important that he kind of warmed to you to a certain extent?
Yeah, I mean, he may say that, but to be honest with you, he's I mean, he's one the most stylish person, etc., for in different publications, etc. But listen, he's just a guy who likes clothes. You know, he just loves clothes, and I think it just seemed like that a natural progression in his kind of career to be that into close to have his own kind of label, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to design for it, be part of it. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
I hear he's got quite a collection of clothes himself, and he kind of brings that into the brainstorming session.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, he's been buying clothes for a long time, and obviously he's kind of got the money to be able to buy things which a lot of people just can only look at in stores and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But he's you know, he loves kit, and when we sort of go and see him, you know, he's kind of like just 1 minute and bring something down. He's like, I really like this button, and I really like this detail here, and you know, I really like the fit of this. You know, he's really into it. You know, he's a cool guy, and I mean, he looks amazing. You know, you know, he probably dressed the 90s, right? When Oasis came out, you had the grunge sort of scene before it, and you know, and then kind of came out and dressed like everyone else, and I think that's what the connection was. That and good tunes, but
So wearability is key. Do you think with Pretty Green that people feel they can wear it?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we're trying to sort a bit of a rock and roll attitude with kind of what we do, and I hope that kind of comes across. And you know, Liam's DNA is all over it. It's his brand, and he. You know, and he sort of he's very involved in what we do, decision making, fabric choice, etc. So yeah, it's hopefully people get it.
And now your latest collection, I think, was based on the Rolling Stones in 1971 era.
Yeah, it was the Exile on Main Street. We were sort of watching, not me and Liam together, but I was watching the sort of Stones in Exile, and just kind of thought, that's probably the most kind of rock and roll album. You know, you've got the Stones doing amazingly well, had to exile to France because of sort of tax reasons, because they thought the bill had been paid on the tax and it hadn't. Any way they could kind of get away from it was by going to make a lot of money, and they kind of went away to, you know, Nelka House, Richard's place in the south of France and stuff, and made, in my opinion, one of the best Stones albums. And you know, what a story. You know, they just went out there and kind of got smashed and come away with just an amazingly beautiful record, and yeah, and it's kind of what everyone wants to do, isn't it? You know?
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Debauchery.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of that from what I can make out. But you know, the Stones Next Time video as well is just amazing, and you know, when we sort of tied it back to the actual sort of soundtrack, it kind of just fitted, and you know, it was what it's all about.
Now, a lot of people I've been interviewing, they always cite the old people from past eras, legends, icons, but they don't really pick up on music artists of today that are like creating movements or anything. Do you think there is anyone that's doing the same thing that Paul Weller did with the mods and stuff? Or?
There definitely are, but it doesn't tap into what we're doing. Again, I think that it's all been done, and it's just a reinvention of what has been done. Yeah, absolutely, and stuff. And you know, I mean, like the sort of skinny jeans thing that's kind of obviously been huge. You know, just look at the front cover of the Ramones album. You know, it's kind of skinny jeans, leather jackets, ripped jeans, all that sort of stuff. But I'm not massively into sort of modern music, so I don't really look at it. You know, I'd much rather look at a vintage Rolling Stone magazine and see how guys used to dress then, and kind of try and put a sort of a modern spin on it. You know, with the sort of silhouettes and sort of stuff. So that's the way we sort of look at things. But I think my opinion is the sort of modern sort of pop culture is very kind of styled, right, by a stylist. I'm not sure if there's too many sort of popular bands these days that actually kind of go, listen, I'm that's the jacket I want to wear. You know, it's kind of, you have to look like this, and you know, X Factor and sort of, you know, kind of like those kind of programs.
It's the culture of now.
Yeah, you see how they turn up when they go for their auditions, and you see how they look at the end of it, and they're two completely different people, right? So I'm not sure if people have got their own way of kind of thinking. I think it's more of a kind of, you have to look like this. So I think it's lost that. You know, you can't be going back in time and looking at people like Brian Jones and George Harrison and that kind of thing, and you know, just how they used to wear things as well. I mean, the pattern clashing, the fabric clashing, you know, but they always look so sharp. And I'm not saying it would work in this day and age, but I think to take inspiration from that is a much better starting point than being told what to wear.
I think Paul Weller even said that's from looking at vinyls, that's where he decided what he was going to wear. Do you remember seeing one specifically when you were younger, thinking that's what I want to look like, that's what I want to buy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, my dad was a big Stones fan. He was massively into Eric Clapton, used to play the guitar and that sort of stuff. And kind of can just remember looking back and seeing from the Rock and Roll Circus a picture of, I think there's Lennon, Clapton and Brian Jones sitting there, and they've just got these big fur coats on, and kind of thought like, that's kind of a really good look. But Clapton had this kind of hand crochet cardigan on, and he had a little orange grandad top underneath it, a pair of jeans and a pair of red, they probably weren't, but a red sort of pair of red Vans, and it just looked mental, and that was what I kind of wanted to sort of look like. But
how did it pan out?
It didn't really, to be honest with you. As you can see, I'm all dressed in black. So
same.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the shoes, though.
Yeah, they were alright. There was a little sample that we done using one of the fabrics from the Black Label collection upstairs and stuff. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's probably about as mental as I'd kind of go. Although I have just got the Black Label Woolwich big check jacket upstairs. So I'm looking forward to wearing that on the station at 8 o'clock in the morning in that sea of black, and just kind of
Make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now there's so many brands coming up all the time from musicians that think they can turn designer. What do you think makes one's work and makes them successful?
Me designing it? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Liam and Oasis touched a nerve in the 90s when they came out, and they dressed like normal guys, right? And they weren't styled, and they wore what they wanted, and they had this kind of, this kind of attitude, which I think came out in their clothes as well. So I think providing we do what he wants, I think it's got legs. It's 25 years next year of Morning Glory, so it goes to show you there's staying power, right? Because I'd be interested to see how many of the sort of, I hate to say manufactured bands, but how the manufactured bands are going to be around in 25 years. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'll leave my shoes if they're around in 25 years, and I wish them all the best and stuff. But I think that's one of the things, he's always been cool. He's always kept up to date, and he's always, probably set rather than followed trends, so that's the way I come to see it.
And that's a wrap on episode 1 of The Sleeve. Here are just some of the faces coming up in future episodes. Bye for now.